Hello and welcome to the Incandescent Podcast, our salon in your sitting room.
Nathan.
What?
Your breath smells. Have you been sucking a throat lozenge?
I have been sucking a throat lozenge.
Jesus. It's a podcast. He thinks he's Maria Callas.
I have not been sucking anything else, I can tell you. So, how are we?
How are we? Well, I've been, I was in Margate for a while.
I'd say you're looking very nautical today. The stripy t-shirt is out, the tats on the biceps.
Come on, now you're laying it on thick.
It's almost like Brutus is manifesting.
Brutus?
Popeye.
That was Bluto.
Bluto, that's the one. That's the one. Didn't you have a character called Bluto in the Pharmacies?
Yes. Bruno and Bluto. There were two of them. Two muscle queens in a dark room.
We'll come back to this later. So anyway, back to Margate.
I did lots of swimming. Well, the whole thing was meant to be a writing retreat. And while I was there, I saw Tom Marshman's Brothers Across the Decades at a quaint little theatre called the Tom Thumb Theatre. Well, I know you've performed there.
I haven't performed there, but I directed a show there that Fancy Chance performed. We did Flights of Fancy.
Oh, that was it.
On a tour.
That's correct. And I designed the poster.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely little theatre.
I mean, it's a perfect building for a theatre, but I don't think it was built as a theatre. It's been repurposed, yeah. Beautiful little... It's like something out of a fairy tale, really.
Yeah. So you were writing some stories?
I was writing some stories, though I have to say I spent most of my time planning my creative writing course, which starts on September the 7th.
Very soon. So is it completely full?
It's fullish. There's still room for a few more if there are people interested. I'm quite excited about this. The first time that I've done a creative writing course through Incandescent.
So if there are any last-minute takers, what do they need to do?
Get in touch. There's a page on the website.
Oh, okay. That's incandescent.co.uk.
/courses or something like that. But they can find it. It's very easy to navigate, and there's a form there that people can fill in and send an expression of interest.
Great.
So, Nathan, while I was in Margate, what were you doing?
Mainly, Justin, I was stroking Jeanette. A feline intern. I was on cat dad duties here in Dalston. So we were doing a lot of work.
I hope you gave her lots of cuddles.
Lots of cuddles, but lots of hair brushing. Did you notice how glossy her mane was?
Very, very smooth and silky.
She was proper Farrah Fawcetted by the time we got back. So mainly I was doing that. I did the last weekend that you were away. I did go down to one of the free days at All Points East.
Oh, tell me about that.
So Kate Conway is an amazing violinist, and she also runs Hackney Proms. And
she has the most amazing hair. What colour was her hair this time?
Her hair was blonde. She was wearing like a floor-length black netting thing with a gold top underneath and fabulous jewellery. But even more fabulous than that was the way that she sounded. So she was playing Max Richter's reworking of Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Hearing it live, it was really emotional, actually, and Kate played the solo part.
Was there water in your eyes?
I did. There was a little bit of waterworks behind the sunglasses. So anyway, we're now going to hear Kate playing...
Superb.
At our queer poetry soiree last July. There was a reworking of a piece called Sweetest Bard by Ignatius Sancho, and he was the first black man to be published in the UK. So this is 18th century, I think. And we reworked it to accompany a poem of mine from Canute, the collection Canute. And this is Ode to an Odious Fatberg. Come see, what can it be, this cabineted curiosity? Why, it is a fatberg found in a London sewer. But how, pray, did it get there? Says here, sluiced from sinkholes, the particles are separated from water carrier, in blind fear find each other, join fatty fingers, and gradually cholesterol chain the city's subterranean arteries until, amassing critical tangle, they threaten municipal insurgents. Sounds disgusting. How'd it come to be in the museum? It was sectioned and glass coffin to prevent olfactory offence. Stinks, I bet. Close-upping the Argothian horror. He's surprised to recognise in its spotlit strata a pad of privilege panned casually, and she a bud of prejudice unthinkingly flushed, a cleansing wipe out the incidental floss of market force and other accretions of a collective myopia. That was Ode to an Odious Fatberg.
Well, they're cropping up everywhere, aren't they? All the sewers are full of them. We had one in the street just here. In the sewer, yeah.
In Dalston.
Yeah, it blocked the sewer, and all the water backed, well, not the water, the sewage backed up, and our ground floor was flooded, and it took weeks, months to get rid of the smell. I mean, we were stepping over brown sludge. It ruined the carpets. It was terrible.
And did you have sewage in the sea down in Margate?
Oh, well, I managed to avoid it, to be honest. I did check on the websites and make sure that the water was clean when I went swimming, and I was more worried about being attacked by a shark. Apparently, global warming up the waters, it's attracting great white sharks to our island.
So this next poem,
you don't believe me, do you?
What? The sharks?
I know, you're always accusing me of exaggeration, but I saw it on TikTok, so it must be true.
Okay. So there we were looking at the layers in a fatberg in that last poem, and this next poem examines the layers of culture, this time in literature. It's by Richard Scott, and he read at Bold in May. The
audience were in tears.
Yeah, he
gave a lovely speech.
He reads beautifully. So we're going to hear him speaking, actually. So he's going to read the poem. He's going to talk about some queer poets past, including Shakespeare. So I thought we'd then cut to me reading one of the sonnets at another Bold, I think it was in June, before cutting back to Richard reading a second poem. But we're going to begin with Public Library, 1988.
In the library, where there is not one gay poem, not even Cavafy eyeing his grappa sozzled lads, I open again the golden treasury of English verse and write, cock in the margin. Ink stains my fingers. Words stretch to diagrams, birth beards and thighs, shoulders, 4Gs. One biro boy rubs his hard-on against the body of a sonnet. Another bears his hole beside some larkin. A blue sailor spooges over Canto 12. Then I see it. Nestled like a mushroom in moss, tongue true and vaunt, a queer subtext, and my pen becomes an indigo highlighter, inking up what the editor could not, would not, the violet hour of these men, hidden deep within verse. I underline those that nature, not the printer, had pricked out, rimming each delicate stanza in cerulean, illuminating the readers to come. Thank you so much. I grew up under the shadow of Section 28, which is a particularly heinous piece of government legislation which blighted the lives of millions of queer people. You're probably all familiar with it. If you're not, it forbade teachers to educate about queer lives and queer sex education, and it forbade public libraries to stock openly queer texts. So that poem kind of was written out of the rage of kind of growing up in that environment. The graffiti's kind of this protest. But then I guess it also talks about the kind of reader you become under a kind of censorship, how you kind of drill down a little bit deeper and you try and find queerness and queer ancestry in unexpected places, obvious places like Shakespeare, but then Gerald Manley Hopkins and even T.S. Eliot too. So that kind of goes on in the poem as well.
Now Shakespeare's queerness is well documented, and indeed this is a very well-known, I think it's number 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediment. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken, a star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, though his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be false, and upon me proved, I never read, nor no man ever loved.
Love version of. Tonight, I watched you sleep naked on the futon, face down, sweaty like a small child, and knew that everything else was bullshit. It's so hard to stay alive these days, or sane. So keep on snoring, Danny, while I guard you like a Rottweiler. Being in love with you is fucking awful. 'Cause one day you'll stop breathing. In this grey light you already look dead. But then you smile. Thank fuck. What are you dreaming about, baby? Wake up. Tell me if the word soul still means anything.
That was Richard Scott reading Love version of at Above the Stag Theatre. And we're going to stay at Above the Stag Theatre for our next reading, which was at the launch of Mainstream.
It was Iqbal!
We are going to hear from Iqbal Hussain, yes.
Oh, and he wrote a beautiful story, a haunting ghost story called The Reluctant Bride.
Iqbal is, he's an upcoming writer.
He's fantastic. Prolific. Even.
Prolific. And his first novel is coming out next year.
Published by Unbound.
Yes, it was one of the successful books on their Unbound.
It's one of their new initiatives,
first.
Unbound Firsts, yeah.
Yes, which was run by Alia, who worked with us on Mainstream. And it's for black and brown writers. And 2 are being published initially. Iqbal's Northern Boy is one of them. And it's available for pre-order.
And that's wonderful. I'm very proud of Iqbal.
So this is Iqbal reading an extract from his short story, The Reluctant Bride.
So my short story is based on stories that my mum used to relate to us as children. Not quite fairy tales, scary tales I call them. And this is based on a typical myth in the Asian culture of banshee-like spirits who have feet which point in the other way. So in all other respects, They look like women, and apart from their feet. So here we go. The Reluctant Bride. As he drives past the Haveli, his mother's warnings flit through his head. Don't relieve yourself under a tree at night. You might disturb a jinn. Never bathe after sunset. Who knows what spirits you'll attract. The feet of a charail point backwards. The burnt-out mansion has lain empty for decades, unloved by buyers and shunned by locals. The crumbling towers and minarets loom like pitchforks against the near-full moon, while bats wheel in and out of the shutterless windows. He detects movement through the gates, and his hand clutches the thouise around his neck before, remembering he lost it years ago. Devoid of its protection, he touches his earlobes instead. As he navigates the country roads, he drums his dashboard and launches into an old film song, his nasal tones cutting through the foot of the engine. Having plied his trade at night for so long, he would struggle with the madness of the day. Even in these small hours, he finds passengers, a broken-down car, a party-goer missing his last bus, an urgent dash to the hospital. The money may not be much, but he lives simply. Something large darts across his path. What the? He swerves, mounting the pavement, straight for a pair of ornamental wrought iron gates. The Haveli. Distracted by his singing, he has somehow ended up here again. He slams the brake and releases the handlebars. The steering column jabs into his chest. Smoking agarbatti and assorted talismans litter his interior. All is silent, apart from a high-pitched tingling deep inside his ears. Then, with a rush, he returns to the land of the living. He tentatively unfurls himself, and the horn stops blaring. Before he can inspect himself, he is arrested by a sound that chills his flesh, a woman sobbing. He shakily swings his legs out of the driver's seat. Peering across the road, he sees nothing but endless fields of corn rippling in the wind. "Hello," he calls out. "Corn hai, aap theek ho?" The crying ceases. From a distance, the lowing of an ox carries through the air like the plea of a dying man. Then a figure emerges from behind a giant peepal tree, stepping into a shaft of moonlight. For the second time that night, he stops breathing. Before him is a woman in full bridal dress. A highly decorated red dupatta cowls her head. She is bedecked with gold. A tikka sunburst pendant over her forehead, a nose chain across her cheek, swathes of necklaces around her throat. In the cold light, her scarlet gown is the colour of dried blood. He remembers stories about these charails resting under peepal trees, how they lure the unsuspecting by hiding their ghastly features in the guise of an attractive woman, sometimes a man. Her face is in shadow. He glances down, but her legs and feet are swathed in the folds of a lenga. As she approaches him, she stumbles, throwing her arms out and sending her gold bangles clattering. Her hands are withered and burned. He flinches and she draws back. Guilt floods through him. "My mother, may Allah be merciful upon her soul, would not let me leave you here. Please come." She opens her palms and shows that they are empty. What he thought were burns are in fact elaborate patterns drawn in henna. He gathers her meaning. No, I wouldn't dream of it. She scans the road. He reassures her they are the only ones abroad at this hour. He understands it isn't proper for a lone woman to be in a vehicle with a strange man at any time, let alone at night. With the lenga concealing her feet, she glides towards him. Halfway across, she stops, pressing the back of her hand to her mouth, her sniffs replaced by a gasp. He turns away. It has been many years since he has made use of a looking glass, but he knows what she sees. He calls over his shoulder. "Sister, please, it is not safe. You don't know who you might meet." He swallows an urge to add, "or what."
That was Iqbal Hussain reading from his short story in our mainstream anthology. Our next podcast, probably the end of October, and we will have some clips from Bold in that because we have another Bold coming up at the end of September.
Oh. Tell us about the venue for the next Bold.
So we're going to go back to the Betsy Trotwood.
Well, that was a very successful night.
Yeah, it was lovely, and they are lovely there. So that's the Betsy Trotwood.
Is Petronella going to bring her xylophone along?
No, not this time, because we're not going to have an open mic. Petronella will be there, of course. The reason there's not going to be any open mic, this time we're going to be working with Polari Press. So we have 3
Great.
Polari Press poets. We have Adrian Ramirez, Barney Ashton Bullock, and Livia Koya-Law.
I know that name.
You will have seen her in one of Marissa Karneski's shows, Show Women.
Does she swallow swords?
She used to swallow swords, yes. She is now a retired sword swallower. And
Aren't we all?
And she's on tour across Europe with her poetry collection, The Rising of the Black Sheep. And she's going to be performing some new material for us at Bold, which is on the 28th of September, and tickets are available on Eventbrite. We are going to end where we began, with Kate Conway, again accompanying another of my poems, just a little one. And after that we will play out with Andrew M Pisanu.
Oh, divine.
And this track is called Better Off.
I know it well. It's the theme track to my novella, The Pharmacist.
So it was, and it's from the album. You designed the cover for the album as well, didn't you? Collecting Diseases.
Collecting Diseases.
That's it. Yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful album, and it's a beautiful, beautiful song. So we're gonna play out with that. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Justin. And this is Dev the Dragon.
Bye, everyone.
A dragon called Development now lives in our street. Each day he wakes us roaring, each night floodlights our sleep. His noxious breath precedes him, though he never leaves his lair. He's too busy buttressing the treasures he'll not share.
Take this more seriously, but I don't. No, I don't. They tell me I should get some sleep, that I'd benefit enormously, but I don't. No, I don't. Here with my gloves and goggles and lab coat. The tests have shown such rules on something as I thought. I'm better off standing alone, but in better weather, and I don't get better. I just don't know. I'm better off now. I'm better off standing alone, but in better weather, and I don't get better. I just don't know. I'm better off now. I'm as indignant as the law permits, and I'm told when I'm allowed to exist. Okay now. The curious sexual appetite is something I should try to hide, but I don't, and I won't. And though the car castle is surrounded. They're trying to get in as soon as darkness falls. I will just disappear. But I'm better off standing alone. But in better weather, I don't get better. I just don't know. Better off, I'm better off now. Better off, I'm better off standing alone. But in better weather, I don't get better. I just don't know. Better off, I'm better off now. I turn the party down for playing solitaire. I either phone like an intruder, ring your dares, and Billy's voice is all the crack smack blow I need from